Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
It is Monday. And Mom's got the basement torn apart, guys. So check this out. I went and spent like $29.99 on a cup of coffee at my local coffee establishment. 7 Brew. I don't know if you're familiar. Oh, gee, they have 7 Brew where you're at. I don't think they do where you're at, Doug.
We just have 6. We just have 6 brew.
Yeah, you made it all the way to 6. But 7 Brew is known for, they take a little bit of coffee and they put it in a gallon of sugar. That's the way it works. Super good. Yeah. But because I'm all sugared up, we're ready to podcast on a Monday. So let's salute our troops, guys. Raise those mugs on behalf of the men and women making podcast in Mom's Basement and the men and women at Navy Federal Credit Union who serve our veterans and our troops. Here's to you. Thank you for keeping us safe. Let's go stack some Benjamins together now, shall we?
Thanks, everybody.
They're dogs! And they're playing poker!
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and on Friday's show, we mentioned creating an investment policy statement. A statement? Why would you have one? What's it all about? We've got you covered with a few simple steps toward better money management. Plus, we'll answer a question from one young stacker's mom who thought, we'd better call Saul-Sehy and OG about individual stocks. How does trading actually work behind the scenes? And that's not all. We'll also share a TikTok minute sent from Stacker Scott. And of course, I'll swoop in with a little mind-bending trivia. And now, here are 2 guys who think the best day to start saving is today. The second best was yesterday. It's Joe and OG. I might have gotten that mixed up.
Happy Monday. Stackers. Doug learned his passive aggressiveness from Mom. You should have started yesterday.
My bad.
But today's good enough. Today's good. Happy Monday, everyone. We're so happy that you're here. Sit back and relax because we're talking investing.
Sit back and relax. That's my middle name.
Yeah, you can't say that at the beginning of an episode, Joe. We'll lose him for the whole thing.
And he's gone. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
I guess I'm giving the investment advice today.
You know that things are on a slippery slope when OG goes from his normal relaxed to incredibly relaxed. We got a great show. Investing policy statements on Friday's show, live from FinCon, OG. We said the R word. There may be a recession in the future.
Someday.
When that day comes, though, you don't want to be reacting. You want to be able to focus on keeping your job, on keeping the wheels on the bus.
Yeah. Take advantage of the downturn.
Yeah, you don't want to react. So investment policy statement going today.
Back the truck up.
We read Doug's investment policy statement. I think Twizzler is spelled with 2 Z's.
No way.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We've got those crazy people. 1 Z's not enough for Twizzler.
That's when you know something's really crazy. Look at this. I'm drinking black raspberry.
Yeah, 2 Z's in that.
There's
too.
2 Z's in raspberry at the LaCroix factory.
Yeah, none of that SP stuff. The silent P is where they get you. Right.
I got my investment policy statement written right here.
Don't do dumb with your money.
With my money.
There it is. Yeah.
I have a great story about that from college, but we'll let that roll for right now.
Is that what you're telling the guy at the tattoo parlor to put on your arm?
Yes. Yes.
So you just keep looking at
the
it.
life, people put like little witty things from like the Bible or, the like.
Witty things from the Bible?
Like little
it's
sayings,
a Dave Barry column.
But all that Bible hilarity, Doug.
Guys don't think there's witty things in there. I don't know. But, it's got some zingers. Oh, Jesus, man, he's got some zingers.
Looks like it's time for a reread. I didn't know it was a comedy skit.
Matthew's in the middle.
My mom would be so proud
of writing his gospel. Oh, they're going to love this one.
But were there rim shots in the Bible I missed?
The next verse of Psalms will make you LOL.
So there I was at the Sea of Galilee. You won't believe this.
And that's how quickly we derail the trade. Investment policy statements today, everyone. We've got a couple sponsors, though, that make sure we can keep on keeping on. We're going to hear from them first, but then take out your preferred writing device and get ready to actually make an investment policy statement with us on today's show. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy-to-use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The horror story that keeps on giving on this show over nearly 15 years, OG, has been the fact that every time the market has gone down, we have seen every single time the question, how do I react to this? Mm-hmm. Or I've lost a bunch of money. I don't know what to do. And I get a pit in the bottom of my stomach every time we read this over and over and over. Now, I'm not going to tell our stacker family, and you won't either, that with an investment policy statement, you won't lose money. But why do you want one? What actually is an investment policy statement, and why do you especially want it during a market downturn?
Well, I would say actually you won't lose money because, in my opinion, you only lose money when you sell. And if you have an investment policy statement that's focused on your long-term financial goals and it's behaving in a manner in which you would expect it to behave, then temporary market declines won't force you to sell, and therefore you won't actually lose any money. But an investment policy statement is the opportunity for you to think through what your belief system is and how you want to behave when things don't go your way. When the market's going straight up, it's super easy to be an investor. It's like, it's like, oh, I just buy S&P stock and it's great. Or I buy NVIDIA. This year I buy international funds or, whatever. And it's easy to do. The hard part is to be an investor when things don't go your way, when your expectations are not matched with reality. And that's really when people make the biggest mistakes in their money investing, is because they don't expect the outcome to happen, right? I didn't expect this to go down 20%. That's a function of not knowing what you're investing in. And then not knowing what to do when it gets here is a function of not having a plan in advance. And so an investment policy statement can be as succinct as one little card like this, or it can, be a couple of pages. But I encourage everybody to write down, for lack of a better term, your belief system around how you invest money. And then you do that in a calm day when, when you're not emotionally charged up, and your belief system will be challenged when you're down 20% or 30%. So don't write it on that day, write it today. And then when you get there, you pull out your card and you go, well, what did I say when I was sane? Oh yeah, don't do dumb with my money. Okay. So that's, or whatever. And it helps make the decision process easier when it comes time to make decisions.
The story that always makes me sad is when somebody tells me that during a market downturn, they have trouble sleeping, that they get so worried about their money. And what I love about the investment policy statement is that your strategy. And I feel like the heartburn in that situation, OG, is really because you're not sure what to do next. You're not sure where you're going next. And with your investment policy statement says, here's exactly where I go next. You mentioned earlier, partly joking, partly not, that maybe you, quote, take advantage of the fact that the market is down. That can go in your investment policy statement. How low does it go before you take advantage of it? Where would that money hypothetically come from ahead of time? It's almost like, and coming up, I'm sure we're going to have this soon. We have it almost every year near the end of the year, right? We talk about the financial fire drill. And we also have guests on who help us with the real fire drill. I mean, we all have homeowners insurance, but the fire drill, in a lot of ways, I feel like, OG, that this is your financial fire drill. The investment policy statement is your financial fire drill.
Yeah, I call them lifeboat drills, but basically it's the same thing, right? It's and this all feeds together in one thing. If you're just investing for the sake of investing, if you don't have a goal in mind, you're like, well, I got $100 left over every month. I got $1,000. I'm just going to throw it in the market. Then, whichever the way the wind is blowing is how you're going to be making your decisions. When you have your investment policy statement, your investment plan is aligned with your retirement plan or your financial plan, and the market goes down 20%, that's a factor that you've already calculated in your retirement plan. So the person who says, well, I can't sleep well at night because, I had $1 million and now I have 800,000. And, that's making me really concerned, has not tied those two things together, because a well thought out financial plan or a retirement plan already incorporates that as part of the ebbs and flows of how things really go in the real world. This is why it's always so interesting to me when people are like, if I just put in $500 a month at 12% for the next 30 years, I'm a gazillionaire. It's like, well, yeah, if you can get 12% every single year, exactly on pace, that works out really good. What happens if halfway through there, you get a minus 40, which has happened twice in the last 25 years, or a minus 55 or whatever happens. When all of those things are tied together, it gives you a lot more confidence when things are not going exactly on that straight line path. And to your point, when you say, when am I going to make other choices? When am I going to rebalance, for example? When am I going to deploy some excess cash? I've got my 6 month reserve. The market's down 30%. Do I want to drop that 6 month reserve to 3 month reserve so that I can get more cash in? Every single one of us, over every single time the market's gone down in the last, quarter century, if you've been investing that long, has said, the next time the market goes down, I'm going to go all in. And guess what? It friggin' happened in the middle of April. And what did everybody say? Well, not right now, because those tariff things are crazy. So I'm not going to invest right now. Or it happened in 2022 and the market's down 23% or whatever. People are like, yeah, maybe not this time because we don't know how this inflation thing's working out.
Oh, yeah, I'm totally down for that polar bear plunge. Hit me up next winter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little chilly out right now.
I didn't think it would be snowing.
I think a lot of people think that the investment policy statement is something that billionaires use. And like the average person who's out there juggling retirement, kids, trying to pay off their mortgage, like this is something that I need. I think specifically the reason why institutions use an investment policy statement, you look at a mutual fund manager will use it, or a pension fund manager will have one. And the reason I think that you should too is because, OG, that you're focused on so many different things. If you read about tariffs, since you brought it up, you read about tariffs today in the newspaper, and then you do, oh man, I should look at my portfolio today. Like what kind of a money manager goes on a random Tuesday? Oh, let's just mix things around. I read something today through complete serendipity and decided to move things around. So it helps you stay systematic when you've got a lot of stuff going on. And I think for that reason, this is where it's not for billionaires. It actually is for the average person out there who, in a fit of despair later on, without the IPS, would go, well, what do I do? What the heck am I doing?
Yeah, ultimately, you're trying to avoid the one big mistake. And the one big mistake is selling when the market's down because you didn't have a plan. And there are so many people that I've talked to. There's so many people. I mean, maybe not the people listening to this show, but there's a lot of people out there who sold out in the middle of April. And when the market was down 17% or whatever it was, and are going, I'm just waiting for things to calm down.
Yeah.
It's not only recovered that minus 17, but then grown to new highs since then. If you would have just been in a coma, God willing, over that month, you wouldn't have known, right? I mean, it's
why can't I ever be in a coma when it counts?
Exactly. But I say that
I wish I would have been in a coma and not looking at my investments.
I obviously say that tongue in cheek.
We're so programmed in every other aspect of our lives for pain avoidance.
Yeah. Yeah. Fight or flight.
If the burner's hot, you pull your hand away right away. And when you see all of that red on the screen or on your, morning report that you're getting about how far the market went down, you're going to pull your hand away. It's so natural. And we're telling everybody not to do that. And actually just push down on that red hot burner. That's what we're saying.
Well, I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying that if you have a plan already in place and you've already thought about the fact that this is going to happen, this is back to psychology, your brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So if you've already said in my brain, this is what I'm going to do when the market, the S&P's at 6,000, minus 20 is 4,800. So when I see the S&P at 4,800, I'm going to do these things. Then your brain goes, oh, we already did this. I already know what to do.
Must follow directions.
Yes, exactly. And maybe it is selling some. That's not the point. The point is that you're following the clear path that you've already laid out, and it's not reactionary, but rather part of your plan.
And the other cool thing is, if you do something well, if something works, instead of just catching it that one time, now you can say, how does this go in my investment policy statement? Like, how do I make this a part of the machine of how I invest? We're going to help you get started. OG, I like what you said about this can be as simple as one sentence. It could be super, super complicated. We're going to give you an example of where to start. If you just go to stackingbenjamins.com/IPS, I've put one together for you to start, just all the different pieces. And we're going to go over the core components. Again, you don't need to include all of these, but I think these are all things that need to go into the consideration process. So the very first piece is the purpose of the investment policy statement and what your overall objective is. Now, this is going to be, as an example, I mentioned somebody in their 30s who is trying to save for their kids, and they're also trying to save for retirement. They're juggling a bunch of different stuff. This goes back to the financial plan. My goal is to get to retirement at X age. My goal is to save X amount of money for my children. My goal is a second home, whatever the thing is. Purpose and objective is the first line. Now, for some people, for mine, as an example, I don't have that in my investment policy statement. That's part of my financial plan. But OG, I still wanted to mention that because really that's where it needs to start from. It isn't, hey, I just go and get all crazy with my investment policy statement.
Can I jump in here? you said in a couple of examples you rattled off there, Joe, you did something that a lot of people avoid. And I found this all the time when I was helping companies create strategic plans, and we asked, okay, what's the goal? And it always started off super broad, like, well, to make more money, or to increase our market share. It's so easy to be broad that it's not valuable. When you're that broad with your goal statements, there isn't a lot of value, because 6 months later, when the stuff hits the fan, it's hard to use that as guidance. So I would encourage everybody, when you're making a statement, you can change it later. Don't forget, you get to change it later if you realize that specific thing you came up with 6 months ago doesn't apply anymore, or you've come up with a better goal. But be really specific, and it could be pay for college, or it could be retire by 36. But put a number in there. Don't just say to retire comfortably.
What I love about that, Doug, is that what I've always found with any investment plan, the more specific it is, the stickier it is. You're more likely to follow it. So to your point on guidance, like, okay, if it's to be comfortable, what the hell does that mean? Right. So how does that going to change my investment strategy? By the way, then a subset of those things then are going to be, of course, your time horizon. You're going to know that because you know exactly when I'm going to need the money. Time horizon then helps you with your risk tolerance and your risk constraints. But then the next piece, OG, I think that's important is liquidity needs, right? If my time horizon changes, I know this is one of the risks you CFPs talk about that a lot of people don't talk about. What if the time horizon changes and I need to take the money out? Like, what do I draw from first? Do I have a place to go get money? I think a lot of people get really conservative because they think they might need the money sooner than the time that they have allocated it for.
I think in my experience, for people that are savers, there's two categories of people. There's people that are, habitually under saving, which is obviously a problem. And then there's people that are, saving well, but habitually underspend. And there is no, scenario like, I'm thinking about the person who has the financial plan where you can throw all the stuff against the wall to try to break it. You're like, well, what if inflation's really high? What if the market sucks? What if, the economy crashes? And it's like, you're still good. Right. And that happens a lot because generally speaking, people who are really good savers by their nature are not really good spenders. There's only so much money every year and they save a considerable amount of it. So they build a nice nest egg and then they've got this problem of now I need to retire, or I want to retire, but I'm scared of the potential of this blowing up. And I think as long as you are cognizant of the different kind of time frames, right? I got 1 to 3 year money. I got 3 to 7, or maybe 3 to 10 year money, and I have 10 year money plus. Just think about those like waterfalls or those as buckets. As one lowers down, you just got to kind of refill it. And there's no timetable to do that. Some people choose to do that once a year. Some people love the idea of, hey, on January 1st, I get all my money. It sits in my savings account. I spend it down on December 31. I'm out. January 1, I start again. Some people like the idea of, hey, every month I get a deposit into my checking account of, $10,000, and that's my spend for the month. So it depends on how your lifestyle is set up. But if you think about it like, 2 or 3 different buckets of funding, you should never be surprised when, I have this big expense, right? Oh my gosh, stupid, HVAC went out. I need 30 grand to fix my HVAC. Where's that going to come from? It's like, well, you should have 1 to 3 year money. There should be 3 years worth of it. So yeah, you got to pull forward some of the end of year 3, but that gives you ample time to use year 3 to 7 to backfill it. And you've got 2.5 years to get it. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to do something immediately to get there. And then that helps with a recession too. Back to the recession talk, you got 3 years worth of cash sitting there and you go, well, I was kind of waterfalling this every single month. I was selling a little bit in each bucket every single month. And now the market's down 20%. I don't want to sell anything. Well, you don't have to. You got 3 years of cash, run that baby dry, and then go fill it back up again. There's no prescribed timetable on how you do this. I think you can automate it largely, but then maybe you hit pause for a while. Maybe you've got a big expense, or maybe the market doesn't behave the way that you want, or maybe the market behaves better than you want. And you say, well, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to put 5 years of spending here because I'm so far ahead on my financial goals right now. I can protect a little bit of it. No wrong answer here.
What I love about that, Stacker, I want you to just pause on this for just a second. The mindfulness of this. Going back to that fire drill, you've pre-thought through, what if the time horizon changes? How would it change? What are all the different things that could get in the way? And then how would I put money in other pots so that the train can keep it rolling, right? The whole goal is to keep the train rolling down the track. And what often happens, because you've been so mindful, not only is it sticky and you sleep at night, but also you do garner higher returns during the uptime. You know why? Because you're not hedging your bet that the time horizon is going to change. Because you thought through it, you know the ways it's going to change. You've thought about the different black swan events that could happen. And now the train keeps moving. And now instead of getting 30, 40, 50% of the S&P 500, let's say, you could get all of it. And now, once again, S&P 500 really is not where we're headed. And I'm going to get back there in a second, because before that on my list here, I've got constraints, and constraints like taxes. And I've seen some investment policy statements, OG, where people are much more likely to let their winners run a little bit more in a taxable account because of the fact that, you know, the capital gains monster is going to eat into it more. Where if I'm going to, let's say, in a market downturn, if part of my investment policy statement is to try to, quote, take advantage of it, I can do that in my Roth IRA because I'm not worried about taxes. I'm also not worried about the fact that making these changes just creates a mess that may or may not have any efficacy. I'm going to look at the role of taxes on my investments. And again, maybe your investment policy statement doesn't need to, but that's a spot that I've seen some people look at before. But then next, I want to tie that into the next piece, which, what is your benchmark? Your benchmark is not the S&P 500. Your benchmark is, I need to save X amount of money per month, and I need to get so much return. What is that return you need to reach this goal? So your benchmark is going to be different for the kids fund than it is maybe for the second house fund, than it is for the retirement fund. And so you kind of back into the benchmark, OG. And then what I love about benchmarking this way too is you start realizing that what the market does is not as important as getting where you need to go.
I think the stock market as a whole, in the sense of watching, you know, if you like to flip on the nightly news and hear the little bit where, say Dan Rather, but he hasn't done it forever. So you're somebody a little bit more contemporaneous, like Tom Brokaw.
Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, or Walter, you know, one of these news guys when you flip it on. Peter Jennings, if you're an ABC guy. When they had that little blurb in there and they say, you know, on Wall Street today, the market was up 17 points amidst positive trade rumors or something, whatever they say. I think that's the level of interest you should have in what's going on with your money. If you flip open the news, or you're on Apple News, or you got a newspaper and you see a little spot that has a green arrow, you go, my money went up probably too. Or if there's a red arrow, my money went down. Like, that's probably the level of interest you should have on it on a daily basis, if even that, honestly. As it relates to how you're doing from a benchmark standpoint, absolutely, your benchmark needs to be, what do you need to reach your goals? If your monthly savings amount is such that you need to generate an 8% rate of return to reach your long-term financial goals, and the S&P average is 7 this year, and you go, high five, man, I beat the S&P, I'm at 7.25. Woohoo, look at me. I'm an investment manager. Guess what? It sucks, bro, because you're still broke in retirement. Congratulations, you failed successfully, you know? And so using it as a flag that's whipping out in the field to go, which way is it, the wind blowing right now? Okay, cool, right? Like, that's good enough, because you're going to generally behave in the similar manner. If you're looking at your investments going, well, this investment, you know, went up 9.67% and this benchmark went up 9.87, so my 9.67 sucks. It's like, well, but if your goal is 8, you're blowing it out of the water. That's what you need to focus on. What do you need to reach your goals? And then use the indexes as a proxy for what's going on, just big picture.
My favorite way to benchmark was to begin with the goal amount that I wanted and then work back every 6 months. Where do I need to be by that point? And so looking 6 months into the future, where do I need to be at that point? And it can be then a mix of the market or my saving. And if I reach it, then I can decide, do I slow down for the next 6 months? Do I speed up and take advantage of it so I can be coast-fi, to use the crazy term the kids use? Or I could move the goal forward. Like, there's so many different things that I could do. If I'm behind, then I look at, was it the performance of my stuff? Do I have the wrong allocation? Or is it just the markets were all underperforming, right? We had that inevitable recession, and now I need to backfill. Now I need to figure out, can I save more money? Maybe that was the problem. What I like about that is that it made my investment policy statement a mixture of two things. Are my investments performing? Yes, no. And then number two is there more that I personally need to do? Which brings up the next part, which is governance. Governance is a big word for how are you going to actually look at this? And OG, to your point, you look at the news and you go, oh, okay, this happened. But am I going to look at it once a year? Am I going to look at it twice a year, a little bit more in depth? What's the timetable between when I'm going to look at my investments? And then the last one is, of course, who's going to do that? And I like this, OG, and I'm sure you do. There's one member of every family that loves this stuff, maybe somebody else who doesn't. I do not like just the person who loves this stuff taking full responsibility and the other person just going, yeah, I've got no clue. Like one person's living in fantasy land and the other person knows everything. I think it's got to be, if you're planning with a partner, when do we look at this together?
I mean, yeah, there's no guarantee that both of you wake up tomorrow if you're in a relationship of some kind, where you're doing money stuff together. And if one person is the driver of all of that stuff, it's like, it's so stressful for the other person. Let me put it this way. The stress that other person has while living, thinking about it, pales in comparison to the stress that person will have if they have no friggin' idea what's going on and you're dead. When you say to somebody, well, I deal with that. My spouse doesn't do the money. I'm telling you from experience, when your spouse has to do the money, it's way worse because they don't even know what they don't know. At least tell them, well, who to call, you know what I mean? And like where the accounts are and that sort of thing. Like they need to have some pretty clear understanding of, what's next.
I've got the perfect example of this, OG, of a good friend of ours, Chris Luger, who has the heavy metal money brand and is one of the people who runs our Minneapolis St. Paul meetup group. Chris has been very public about the fact that his ex-wife handled all of this. He handled nothing. And when he went through his divorce, OG, he was like, I don't know where anything is. I don't know how to do any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So he's a money geek because of necessity, because of the fact that all of a sudden it was thrust upon him when things didn't work out the way that he wanted in his marriage.
Yeah. I mean, that's an awful scenario too. It's 1,000 times worse if it's somebody passes away, suddenly. Yeah. And you're trying to deal with.
Yeah, at least he can call her and say, how does this work?
Or have the lawyers talk to one another, right? It's like, you don't want to be worried about, like, how is the mortgage getting paid this month while you're dealing with the stress of losing a loved one. You just can't process all that. Like something's going to get missed. That's not the time and place.
What I like about also the number of times that you're going to check it, and I'll tell you how mine works. Mine is I look at it once every 6 months, which, by the way, I think is even too often. It could be once a year, stackers. I do it twice a year just because I'm a money nerd. I enjoy it. And whenever the market drops 15% from its previous high, I also then have a percentage of my portfolio that I will then reallocate and look for opportunities to do more. The juice from that squeeze, largely not worth it, but it's in my investment policy statement because it makes me feel good, OG, to be contrarian, to know that, ooh, the market's down 15%. Instead of feeling the despair of the market's down 15%, I'm like, oh, my investment policy statement's about to trigger.
You're like Mr. Burns. You're like, excellent.
Come down a little more, Mr. Market. Yeah, good stuff there. But I think once a year is enough. I know, OG, you've looked at all these studies.
Yeah, rebalancing once a year is the most efficient. There's no evidence to suggest rebalancing more frequently than once a year is worth it. I know a lot of people think 6 months, like you said, which is fine. I think you're going to find that in most 6 month periods of time, though, there's nothing to do. And so all you're doing is razzling yourself up for nothing. And depending on what 6 months you pick, right? Like you could pick, like, what if September is one of your 6 months? Generally speaking, September is kind of a crappy month. You know, like you just put yourself in a bad mood. Like, you know,
I would say you also have to design or define some kind of plan of action for what are you doing when you look at it every 12 months or every 6 months? Because if you look at it the wrong day and think sell it all because holy cow, it's all gone to hell in a handbasket, you've completely undermined the whole point of trying to step back and be patient. So you got to say, okay, if I see these indicators over the course of the previous 6 months, then maybe I take action. But you can't just pick a day, because there's a good chance you pick the wrong day.
So the way that mine works, Doug, people know I love using the efficient frontier. I have this allocation by percentage of this percentage is in X is in large company stock. This percentage is in small company stock. This percentage international, and so on. During that 6-month rebalancing, I'm just tweaking back to those percentages. I'm not moving money out wholesale. I'm not moving money in wholesale. I'm just tweaking to those percentages. If it goes down 15%, if the market's down 15% between those 6-month periods, I will then do that same thing again. So for people to get an idea of exactly, Doug, what you're talking about, that's what my investment policy statement looks like.
I always knew you were a tweaker.
So let's go over the pitfalls. Doug brought this one up. Being overly vague with your objective is a huge pitfall. Being too rigid for changing goals. I also like, Doug, what you said earlier. You can change it. You can don't hang on to it because it's in writing. Feel free to change it. Now, don't change it like people change diets.
I was going to say, have a damn good reason to change it.
Yeah.
Not just because it's not working for you at the minute.
That diet doesn't work. No, Doug, it's because you won't put down the donut. It doesn't work.
Badass.
Not thinking about, and OG, I liked you walking us through this, not thinking about all the liquidity events that could come up, the cash flow events. Picking bad benchmarks like the S&P 500 drives us. This is why it drives us crazy, stackers. And people go, well, the S&P 500 did X and I didn't do that. The S&P 500 has nothing to do with your goal. If your goal is in 5 years, you should have no relation to the S&P 500, or at least very little. Looking at then what your benchmarks would be. How much money for me? I like how much money do I need to be at every 6 months on my way to my goal? And then clearly defining roles in communication and making sure the person that isn't in love with this, isn't a money nerd, is involved and knows, at least on a cursory basis, guys, exactly what's going on. So best practices, make it personal, write it down, keep it simple, build in these regular reviews, have those on your calendar, and get good clarity on who does what. So we'll have all of that at stackingbenjamins.com/IPS. Nice job, guys. Good work, OG.
Oh, well, thank you.
He didn't do
So go download your stackers. This is what we want to hear from you. stackingbenjamins.com/voicemail. If you do this, tell us how you set up your investment policy statement, what it looks like, how it works, what struggles you had. We'll take your questions. We take questions. We're going to do a question here later in the show, but we'd love your questions about investment policy statements. Let's help each other get this done. Cause I think because OG, a recession is coming. A recession is, you heard it here first. There will be at some indeterminate time in the future, a recession.
Dun, dun, dun.
we want to be ready for it. All right, Doug, it's a big birthday today, I think. What's on tap with today's trivia?
Hey there, stackers. I'm trivia punk rocker, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. And today's the birthday of one of the biggest badasses in rock and roll, a woman whose poster Joe's mom has hanging on the wall right now, the one and only Joan Jett. The godmother of punk rock, was lead singer of the Runaways before forming her own band. I feel like I need to do this whole thing in disc jockey voice. The godmother of punk rock was lead singer of the Runaways before forming her own band, the Blackhearts.
Now, could you do the old Casey Kasem? The godmother of punk rock was lead singer of the Runaways before forming her own band.
Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Okay, let's refocus here. She stacked tons of Benjamins with her debut album, which included the hit Bad Reputation. But her biggest song of all time was on her 1981 follow-up album. What was Joan Jett's #1 song? I'll be back right after I get Joe's mom down here to clap out the lyrics with me.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
Pepsi Prebiotic Cola in original and cherry vanilla. That Pepsi taste you love with no artificial sweeteners and 3 grams of prebiotic fiber. Pepsi Prebiotic Cola. Unbelievably Pepsi.
Hey there, stackers. I'm punk rock trivia creator and guy who doesn't care about his reputation in the neighborhood, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. We're celebrating the birthday of rock and roll queen Joan Jett today by asking you which of her songs was her biggest hit of all time. Of course, it was none other than crowd pleaser and stadium rocker, I Love Rock and Roll. Sing it with me now.
Put another dime in the jukebox, baby.
Oh, that's not
By the way,
version.
now wouldn't it be, instead of a dime in the jukebox, wouldn't it be put another like $1.50 in the jukebox?
Yeah.
What's a jukebox?
Put your Venmo request in the jukebox, baby.
Doesn't have the same ring anymore.
No, not really. And now back to two guys who love drips but have absolutely no drip, unless Old Navy khakis count, Joe and OG.
OG does have that urologist situation.
Oh my God. See, I'm trying to keep it relevant, dividend reinvestment plans, and then keep it, so that all of our young audience knows what we're talking about with drip, and you go straight to
Pivot.
bad biological jokes.
It's time to pivot. Time to pivot away. Don't look over there. Look over here, everybody. Time for our TikTok Minute. This is the part of the show where we shine the light on a TikTok creator who's either done something brilliant or air quotes brilliant. OG, we have a cautionary tale today. Do you think this is and Stacker Scott sent us this cautionary tale. Do you think that he sent us something brilliant he saw on TikTok, or in this case, Instagram Reels, or not so brilliant?
No, it's fantastic. Very cautionary. Everybody should pay attention.
Wow. What? He never says this.
Scott sent us a young stacker who may have misinterpreted the directions.
You use Apple Pay, honestly, just be so careful. This is a little embarrassing to admit, but if this could help one person, then I'm really willing to share what my experience was. I'm just gonna lay it out like this. When you use Apple Pay, that's real money. That's true American dollars from your credit card. If you have your credit card connected, that's where the money is being sourced from. It's not like a special form of Apple Pay, Apple dollars. Why they don't just say this is real money while you're paying, I don't know. Because I thought that I had accumulated a bunch of Apple dollars to use for Apple Pay by, spending so much time on my phone, giving my data very freely and willingly to any place that
There's
asks.
no way this is real.
They say, are cookies okay? I say yes, 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 because I thought that's how I was getting prizes, getting rewards, getting Apple dollars. So I didn't think that was real money till I checked my credit card bill. I've been spending money like I'm a friggin' millionaire. I got hair mousse. I have straight hair. My hair doesn't even hold mousse. I call Apple to straighten things out. I look at it. I please speak with Mr. Steve Jobs. They go, he's no longer with us.
Can I speak to Mr.
Totally
Steve
fake.
Jobs?
This is why the internet is such a waste of time and energy.
Oh, come on. I thought it was very entertaining.
Long way of saying you were wrong, because before we got into that, you said this was going to be awesome.
Exactly.
No, but it's just, see what happens? I try to make you guys happy and say, oh, the social media is awesome, actually. It's so great. And then just fake news like that is everywhere. And it's like, that's so, I don't even understand why people, like, what's the benefit for that person I mean, how many did you get? A bunch of likes or something?
A bajillion. Yeah. How many?
Yeah, fantastic. And how much is that worth? How many Apple dollars does she get for each like?
24,200 comments. Most people saying this is fake. So
no kidding.
1.1 million people watch this video. 1.1 million.
And how many Apple's dollars did she get for that?
Right. 695,000 people gave it a heart. OG. Should I give it a heart? Have a heart.
Aren't we obligated to? We just given her another million just by talking about it.
Watching the Ted Lasso show that you guys I know watched a lot of, I've decided I'm very much like Roy Kent.
Wow. What is he on season 3, Doug? Before he finally figures it out?
On him. Everybody else listening knew you were Roy Kent years ago.
My general answer of all this is what he would say.
When our stackers watched episode 1, they're like, this Roy Kent guy's a lot like OG. That's what they said. Yeah. Scott, thanks for
thanks for nothing, Scott.
Scott, thanks for sending that in and for trolling our own OG with that. For our next segment, somebody said, you know what? I better call Saul-Sehy and OG. This is a stacker whose voice, Doug, I think you may recognize and I recognize, but this person would like to remain anonymous. But anonymous, it's great to hear your voice. I hope you're doing well. And well, let's say hello to Anonymous, who has a question for her son.
Hi, Joe and OG. I'm a longtime listener, and I'm sitting here with my 10-year-old son, and we've been talking about stock investing as he gets older and wants to learn more about this. One question came up that I didn't have the answer to. When someone sells an individual stock, what happens to that stock? Does the company buy it? Does someone else buy it immediately? Or does it get put into kind of a shelf for a holding until someone else is interested in that stock? Appreciate any guidance and looking forward to learning more with my son.
Thanks for the question, and glad to hear that stackers out there educating young stackers all the time. OG, somebody sells their stock. Does it then go, is it like the showroom when somebody returns at Best Buy the thing they didn't want, and it goes and waits for the next person? How does that work?
Yeah, it's like an Amazon return. Yeah, it's just you get credit for it right away, but you don't have to like send it back to Kohl's for like a couple of weeks. And then when you do, you get all your money back.
You have to go to the UPS store and show them that stupid QR code. Such a hassle.
That to you is a hassle versus having to ship it back yourself.
Show up at my doorstep.
Okay. I mean, you can have them do that. You just have to package it and pay for it yourself.
You got to pay for it.
All right. So let's talk about stock. Stock is the ownership of a company, right? So when a company is formed, even a small company like Stacking Benjamins, we have shares of stock. And right now there's 2. Joe has 1 and OG has 1, right? Doug, sorry, we only made 2. We were going to give you 1, but we ran out.
Look at that look on Doug's face.
I know. My bad. That's on me, coach. That one's on me.
Way to bring that up, OG.
Yeah, that's all right. And so big companies like Apple or something like that, they might have millions of shares of stock. And so they're taking their company and saying, we need to divide this into increments that are sellable to other people, right? Because the value of Apple is $1 trillion or $5 trillion or whatever. If they just said, well, it's just really these 3 people that own it, well, then each share would be worth $1 trillion or something. No one would be able to buy it. A stock is the ownership of a very small percentage ownership of a company. And the company has issued those number of shares and they are public for sale. And so different types of people can own those. So an individual can own the stock, a company can own it, a mutual fund. The company itself can own its own stock back. That's an option. And so when you hit sell on your brokerage window and you say, I'm going to sell 1 share of Apple, someone else is also simultaneously hitting buy. There are people and organizations that facilitate that transaction. And most of the time, this is electronic these days. 99.99999% of it is electronic to facilitate, hey, there's 1 stock for sale. Oh, there's 1 person that wants to buy it. Bang. That's electronically decided what the fair price is for they want to buy and that you want to sell. And boom, that's how that transaction happens. On occasion, when there's not any buyers, then there's market participants who are out there saying, we'll take ownership of this if there's a situation where there's not any buyers. So there's a bunch of people that want to sell, not enough buyers, called market makers, and they will say, we'll facilitate that just to keep orderly operations going so that we can have the liquidity. And that's really all there is to it. It doesn't go on a shelf. It doesn't get deleted. It's not gone. It's just moving from one person to another. So the day you think it's a sell is somebody else's day they think it's a buy. And that happens in a microsecond, 100 billion times every day across the entire world of all the publicly traded companies in the universe. So
17,005 people want to sell. Only 17,000 want to buy. So the extra 5 left over, there are these angelic people called market makers who are like, yeah, I'll hold on to that for you until.
Well, they actually get a lot of upside, which is they get to sit on top of the stock and see the good days as well. And so they get to load up generally on bad days when people don't want to buy, but when that stock goes up, these people are able to make a killing. So
give me an example of who this, I mean, is this the Goldman Sachs or like hedge funds or those kinds of large people able to swing those large amounts of
in the old days, it literally was a person,
a dude,
one guy.
They just raised their hand and said, I'm the guy when I'll take overage.
Yes.
Yeah, send it my way. Doug, it's so electronic now that, you say, well, there's 5 shares that weren't, those shares would just be offered at a lower price. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be the transaction at which because if this guy really wants to sell, so I want to sell it for 100 and this guy goes, I'm only buying it for 80. Then how bad do you want to sell it at 100? I really want to sell it. Okay. Well, will you take 95? Yeah. I really want to get rid of this. Will you take 95? No, I'll take 90. Will you take 90? I really want out. I'll take 90. Or they go, I'm not taking 90 for this. I'll keep it at 90 and I'll sell it some other day, cancel my transaction.
And that's why when you go to sell, you've got 3 different options. Sell at the market. And the market just means it says on my screen is trading at 100. Let's say if something happened between the time that you made the decision and the time you hit sell and the market goes into free fall, you might only get $95. You might only get $90.
You're saying, give me whatever the price is when I hit the market. Yep.
The second thing you can do is you can have a limit that is a trigger, meaning that if this stock goes below $100, I want to trigger a sell, and then it becomes a market order. So then let's say the market starts, it's at 102 and you put your sell at $100, the market starts going down and it's 100, you hit sell, but then it's a market order and it fills at whatever the price is, market and free fall, you might get 50. Doesn't ever happen that way, but
not true. Has happened. I know somebody personally that happened to.
Can happen, but doesn't happen in a normal.
Got completely wiped out of $100,000 position because he did a market order.
And then the third button that you have is when it gets to 100, I want to sell specifically for 100. And if it's a fast moving market, I don't want to sell. I want to just hold until it gets back to 100. And you can specify the amount of time that order stays open. Mm-hmm. So, OG, to your point, a lot of the time when somebody places a market order, there's a lot of standing, what are called limit orders out there for either above or below. So if you decide to sell at the market and it's at 100, but things have been trending up and the next buyer is at 101, you might get 101, you might get 102, you might get something better or worse when you do a market order.
Yeah, it's really hard to comprehend exactly how much of this happens on a minute by minute basis.
I'm glad you said that because there's this book in the 90s called Trading Rules that I've had stackers pick this up and read this at your own peril because it is kind of a boring book, but I also find it fascinating, OG, which is that the human brain cannot comprehend just how much liquidity there is out there. The huge number of shares that trade.
Even easier and better than reading a book, go back another decade, Joe, to the 80s and just have everybody watch Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. That's all you need to learn about how trading happens, right?
Well, you'll get a great cartoony look at it, which I like. Also, the movie Wall Street. And Wall Street, by the way, when they're trading Blue Star Airlines, if anybody remembers that old movie, you see the market maker, OG, in that movie. Mm-hmm. Like the market maker, all of a sudden, there's a bunch of people standing around one guy. And that's the market maker guy that you were talking about. Nobody wants it. All of a sudden, everybody's telling him, I want to buy from you. I want to buy. Nobody's selling. Everybody's buying. So now this guy's got to give up his position because he's the market maker on the other side. And then 3 minutes later, they're all trying to sell it back to him as Gordon Gekko is trying to manipulate this market.
Allegedly manipulate.
Well, and
don't ruin it. Spoiler alert.
He may or may. Well, yeah, I can't. You know, if you haven't seen Wall Street by this time, is it on me? Is it truly on me?
Maybe Charlie Sheen's involved. Who knows? Wait for the end. See how
I'll just tell you now, he's dead the whole time.
Oh boy.
I heard, by the way, that this new Charlie Sheen documentary is really good from people I had dinner with the other night.
There is one?
That the Charlie Sheen documentary is super. Him telling his own story. And anyway, sidetrack there.
Side quest complete.
Anonymous, great to hear your voice. Glad that you're helping our young stackers understand this. And you know what? We'll have Gertrude get in touch with you and send either you or the young new stacker some swag. Maybe both. We should probably do both in this one, don't you think?
Yeah. No, Anonymous is get a little demerit there.
Yeah.
StackyBenjamins.com/voicemail. If you would like to ask your question as well, we love taking your questions. And coming up in the next few weeks, we'll have just a complete letters episode so we can try to stay as close to the time that you send it in as possible. All right, that's nearly it for today. Doug, we've got what we call the back porch. We've had a lot of community today with Scott and Anonymous and the big challenge to create your investment policy statement. But what else we got on the back porch?
Yeah, Joe, we got a call from Stacker Jeff who wanted to have a talk with us about our Labor Day episode.
Uh-oh. Let's hear what Jeff's got.
Hi, guys. This is Jeff. I just wanted to say thanks for a great Labor Day show. I mean, both Tony and Chuck deserve a show all their own. It was like getting two shows in one. Terrific guests. I like all your shows, but this one was really special. So keep doing what you're doing.
Jeff, that's very nice. Thank you so much.
Why can't everybody be like Jeff?
Well, try not to take it personally that he's like, less of you guys.
Yeah.
and more of them.
That was weird. I never heard my name in that whole call. What?
We do work really hard to have the people that come on, our mentors, be people that are going to be very helpful from a bunch of different places. And these two, for people that missed our Labor Day episode, we'll have a link in the show notes. But Tony talked about life insurance and this idea of velocity banking and why, OG, you thought we were spoiling Wall Street. You want to do the big spoiler here? Why velocity banking might not work. Tony's a life insurance expert, certified life underwriter, walks us through exactly how permanent life insurance works and why it might not be a great idea to bank with it. And then Chuck is now becoming a grandfather. Of course, Chuck from the Money Life with Chuck Jaffe show on every Halloween here with the most hilarious and complicated Halloween game every year. But he also is great at thinking forward about his family and creating a legacy and helping his grandchild get started with investing even as they're just born. So if you want to help the next generation by getting them started, Chuck Jaffe walks through how to invest for a very young child or grandchild. That's going to do it for today. Thank you so much, Stackers, for hanging out with us the last hour. Coming up on Wednesday, man, we're diving into more fun. Speaking of mentors, we've got a great mentor for you, but I'm going to leave it a surprise, Doug. Woo-woo. So instead of previewing Wednesday's show that you just have to listen to, Doug, instead, why don't you tell us what are the 3 things that should be on our to-do list today?
Sure thing, Joe. First, take some advice from our main topic today. Looking to see your portfolio perform better over time? Rather than responding when news or bad markets hit, create an investment policy statement and work that machine, baby. You're much more likely to have money available when you need it than if you're making it up as you go. Second, take some advice shared by Stacker Scott. Apple Pay? Yeah, allegedly, that's real money. We're still looking into it to confirm. But the big lesson? Don't let Joe's mom hear you call Joan Jett the queen of rock and roll. Apparently, if you want free podcasting space in the basement, we need to acknowledge that there is only one queen. And it isn't Joan Jett. Happy Ma. Hey, let's meet back here on Wednesday and keep this momentum going, shall we? We'll welcome both you and certified financial planner Jeremy Kyle, who will lay out how to devise your retirement plan in 5 simple steps. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2025, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. Joe gets help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, Not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.